So you have a show or a podcast, or you're about to start one, and you're waffling between having somebody run it for you or running it yourself. Having somebody run it for you, like a producer or a showrunner. Well, today I'm going to pick the brain of my very own producer because I have a showrunner, and we're going to explore the pros and cons of doing it yourself or having somebody do it for you. So hang in there because we're going to come right back with that in just a minute. Welcome to Waist Up Wardrobe. I'm Christine Vartanian, a civil engineer and attorney turned personal style expert and image consultant. As the founder of Jade for All Seasons, I am passionate about unveiling the inner confidence of my clients by developing their personal style. But is getting dressed up still important in our virtual world? Well, that's where my experience can help with what I call Waist Up Wardrobe. Waist Up Wardrobe is a podcast for all things you need to conduct an outstanding Zoom meeting. It's about how to dress for the camera, but it's not just about the clothes. It's about everything you need to know to show up on brand and professionally for the camera. Join me in the Waist Up Wardrobe studio to discuss how to navigate this virtual world and dominate from behind the desk. Hello, Virtual Nation. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Waist Up Wardrobe. I'm kind of excited about today's episode because it is a total off the cuff show that I decided to do with my producer because we wanted to sort of do a comparison of what it takes to actually create the production, everything that goes on in the green room and behind the scenes when you are creating your very own show. But before I get started, I just want to say thank you to my ultra awesome producer, Rick Moscoso, and my guest today, Taboo, who will be talking to us about production. There he is in caricature, but we're going to bring him on in the flesh in just a second. And I want to say thank you to him for running the show, making it seamless and making it just the amazing production that it is. And we're going to get to pick his brain today. Also, thank you for joining us. Remember, we're on iTunes, so you can download us and just listen to us, even though it is really cool to see the visuals of everything because I am in a very visual field, but you can still listen to us and get a lot of goodness from the show. And we are on Waist Up Wardrobe on Facebook at Waist Up Wardrobe, where we stream every Thursday at 11:30. And we're live 95% of the time. We do some pre-recorded episodes because life gets in the way, and we don't like to skip an episode. And just remember to go there, download us on your iTunes, rate us and review us if you feel inclined. And let's just go ahead and get started on today's episode. Today is episode 88, where we're going to be talking about the differences between a do-it-yourself run show where you are the producer and you're everything really, and then the differences between that and having somebody that runs your show, a showrunner like I have, or a producer that will run the show for you from beginning to end and do all the behind the scenes where you don't have to worry about that as the host of the show. So I would like to just say a little bit about my ultra cool producer, Rick Moscoso. He was in the corporate world for a long, long time. And then just, because of his talent and ability to create video and photography, he then shifted gears as a freelancer in the sort of this video making and branding and marketing of his clients. And I'm going to have him actually speak to his resume. And so let's welcome him on the show as he brings himself on, by the way, because he is the producer. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Hi, Christine. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Hey, yeah. So I just want to really quick with the audience. I mean, you've been on the show before, but for somebody who's just watching this show, can you just give us a little top level synopsis of your background, your bio, and how you've come to become a showrunner for so many companies?
Oh, sure. My background's in clinical marketing and outbound production. Basically, I think about 23 years, I was in the medical field, mostly on the commercial side. I mean, the bulk of that was on the commercial side, and did quite a bit of traveling for that. But where my passion was, I wanted to get into in-house marketing, and so for probably 12 years, the last 12 years of my corporate career, I was in-house handling product marketing, interviews with radio influencing radiologists, that sort of thing. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth, so to speak, with marketing, with video production. Back in that day, we really didn't have a feasible way to do live streaming. So it was all video tape production and different things like that, where we take these productions and then air them on major medical networks and do that sort of thing. And so got my experience there. And I thought, you know what, when when my son Dylan was born, I thought, I've been gone so long and I missed a lot of things with my two older girls, that I thought, you know what, I'm not going to miss it with my son, because we didn't expect a son. You know, I come from a family of 4 sisters. And so when Dylan came along, he was kind of like a blessing in disguise, not only to me, but for Tammy and I. And thought, you know, even the little things, I didn't want to miss those. And so I started freelancing, and which leads me to today.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with just your path, which I always say, you know, it's interesting, the scenic path we take through life that brings us to our true purpose, passion, and where our genius is. Sometimes it takes that sort of windy road, but everything kind of contributes to who we become ultimately and what we actually pursue when we're really working in our zone of genius. But I think it's, you really see businesses in so many different angles, right? You are a video producer who thinks about marketing when you are producing. You can coach a client when it comes to scripting, when they're getting on video. You understand body language and how that translates in the camera. I mean, you've coached me through a lot of that video production. And then you have this, you know, obviously, I think your genius lies in this video production arena, right? Where you've now taken it to just running people's shows, because so many people do, and companies have now added the feature of either podcasting or some kind of a video production show to complement their work or even be the it in their work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that it's so interesting because you really can see it from every angle. And I think that's what makes you so unique in the way that you coach your clients. But I will say that what happens is when it comes to creating a show, right? And so many people are doing that now, where they're creating their podcast or their show, that they go, okay, should I run it myself? Or should I hire somebody to produce it and run it and be in the production room? So there's these two options, the 2 ways to go, and both can be done. You know, they're just different types of ways to go, and it just depends what you're willing to take on and what you want to really be doing. For me personally, I wanted somebody to handle all the technology, all the production, all the recording, all the post-production, because I just didn't have the time to do that, nor did I really want to mess with all the technicalities. So let's just take the do-it-yourself community, right? Or people who decide they want to do a show and they want to just run it themselves. Mm-hmm. What are the things that they have to think about? If you could just list the bullet points of the things that they can systematically go through to think about when they are, you know, planning that.
Yeah, well, let's start with the beginner who's interested in starting a new podcast or a live stream, because that'll kind of fold into the people that are actually have started already and have been maybe doing it for a while, but want to take it to the next level. So with that in mind, for the person who's considering doing a live stream or a podcast, organization and planning is key, right? And by that I mean you should have an episode log of at least, especially when you're starting out, at least 4 to 8 weeks in advance, so you know what shows are coming up, at what frequency they're going to be coming up. So if you have a guest, you have plenty of time to secure them for that time slot. That sort of planning is very, very important. So when you're first starting out, you may not even consider doing an episode thumb to tease your audience of what's coming up. All right. So like for this show, we press out an episode thumb 1 week in advance, or up to 1 week in advance of what's coming up. And that way people who are followers of you on Facebook or on YouTube, they see what's coming up, and they can bookmark or save that episode for when we go live. So planning is number one. I would even say planning is number one even before you start messing with the set, with the lighting, the cameras, and all that stuff, all the techie stuff. Because, I've seen a lot of people who do go live. They go live on Facebook with something as easy as just their phone, right? And that's okay. If you're starting off, you should use the tools that you already have before you even consider upgrading to other equipment. Because as you get into that rhythm and you get into that comfort zone of doing your live stream, whether it's 5 minutes or half hour or an hour, or whatever it is, you'll start to see, you'll start to understand that, maybe I do need to upgrade my mic. I need to upgrade my lighting a little bit, and the overall look. So you don't have to invest a lot of money in the beginning when you're first starting. Just make sure that you're organized as far as the topic that you're going to speak about during the episode, what's going to come next, so you can lead your audience to the next episode, and plan that out well in advance, especially when you're first starting.
Yeah. So just to sum up what you're saying, basically, I think the moral of the story of what you're saying is, like, don't let technical things stop you from going live. So in other words, if you are thinking about creating a show or showing up regularly in your sphere of influence, and what you have access to is your phone, then do it on Facebook Live. And you don't even have to think about a formal production in that case, but just, get started, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't let that stuff stop you, because that seems to be the killer of any production that you desire as an entrepreneur, that you desire to go forward. But it seems to always, people get frozen with, what am I going to use? It doesn't look that good because I'm just going to use my phone. It doesn't matter, as long as the content that you're delivering is solid, it's valuable, then people will follow you. And then, you're going to grow a following as you develop your show, as you develop your look, your the rhythm of your show. That'll come. Don't worry about that, but just start doing it, and do it with frequency.
Exactly. And so the consistency and all that. So I really love what you're saying in terms of the planning, just plan ahead and just do it, right? That is the first step. But now, so say somebody's actually doing a formal show, right? They don't want to do it, on their phone. They really want to do something like what we do, where they're either on StreamYard or a platform like StreamYard, or even like Facebook. I mean, there's so many different platforms. What do they need to do technically speaking? Like, let's say let's give them a quick little tutorial about StreamYard. Like, what are the couple steps that they need to do to get set up for that?
StreamYard's very easy to use, in my opinion, because it gives you enough tools to make it look like an advanced production, but yet it's almost similar to doing it on your phone, with the heavyweight stuff waiting for you to use as you develop, right? So the thing I like about StreamYard is that we can set up multiple streams to different outlets. So for the Waist Up Wardrobe, we send a simultaneous stream to Facebook. We also send it to YouTube. And so now you have two platforms, because two platforms where people can view it from, because not everybody's on Facebook, but a lot of people are on YouTube. And sitting in the studio, I can monitor, and I see for this show that there's a number of people that watch on YouTube versus watching the show on Facebook. So you just never know where they're going to come from. And so that's what I like about StreamYard, is that you can push it out to multiple different platforms.
So how does somebody go about like setting themselves up? I mean, you're a producer, so you do this. This is like your sweet spot. But like somebody that's a layperson, do they just sign up on StreamYard.com, and how do they actually technically do it? Do you have
Yeah, you can just go to StreamYard.com and sign up. I believe there's like a 1 week trial that you can sign up for. It's been so long, but I believe there's a 1 week trial, and then you can just, you can practice at home if you want, just see what it looks like in the studio. There are things like you saw at the top of the show where we were bringing up graphics, like when Christine was talking about iTunes and different things like that, or when she was solo, I brought up her lower thirds, things like that, or when I jumped in with my avatar, right?
Yeah.
You can do different things like that. So StreamYard gives you a level of production that you can't get with Facebook Live, you can't get with Zoom, and it levels up your production value, because it looks like, oh wow, you got it looks like a professional show.
Yeah.
Things like things like this where we're side by side. Well, if I wanted to key on, let me see, if I wanted to key on myself, I bring myself into more focus. Christine's still there, but she's more of a thumbnail. And so when you do have a guest on the show, you can do things like this and switch back and forth. Or if you prefer more of a news interview type of look, you can do things like that. So StreamYard gives you the flexibility of doing all these production things, bringing in a video trailer like we have at the top of Waist Up Wardrobe. You saw the video that comes on. You have a countdown timer. You have an exit video at the end of the show if you want to roll credits, or different things like that. So gives you a lot more flexibility in the show and makes it look more professional. And it kind of cues it helps you pace the show or cue the show, as far as there's a definite beginning, there's a slight little break, then you roll into the show, and then there's a clear end. And so the show can be much more organized when you have tools like this to kind of pace yourself as you go.
Let me ask you a question. Is it easy for somebody to do that, run it themselves while they're actually hosting it? I mean, can it be done?
Yes. Yeah, okay. It can be done. And it just all depends on how much do you want to handle, or how much can you handle? What is your knowledge of technology? I mean, to do what I just did, it's just a learning curve, and being able to focus on the content that you're delivering, and then, hitting other buttons to bring in, graphics or different things like that simultaneously without breaking, what you're saying. A lot of times when I see people, start a show and they do this type of thing, even comments, right, that come on, obviously you're going to have to read the comments, but a lot of times they're searching around. It's like, let me see. What? Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. That sort of thing. You don't want to break the show like that. I mean, you even see that with Zoom at the top of at the top of a Zoom stream. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that is like my one big, pet peeve is like, oh, when you're on a show, you got to focus, or like if you drop somebody and people start panicking, like, oh, did that person drop? Can they hear me? That stuff, that little chatter behind the show, during a show that is live, that can, things happen, but at the same time, you have to remain in that professional state so that you can give and deliver the best content and not be distracting. I feel like that can be a very big distraction. That's why I really love that you run my show, because I don't want to be distracted by worrying about, sifting through the comments. I do look at the comments, but I don't want to be the only one looking at the comments, because I will miss something, right?
Well, one of the things too that I can tell you is, as you start doing a live stream and you're wondering, hey, can everyone hear me out there? I guarantee you, when people are watching, and if there's a problem, they will comment on it, right? They'll let you know right away. They won't people aren't afraid to say, hey, we can't hear you, or the audio doesn't sound very good, or whatever. They'll let you know if you're running a solo production.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, I think that there's some value in having, I mean, that's for me personally, there's value in having a producer because I want to be as professional as I can be, right? And I don't want to be distracted by all this stuff. But so if somebody was doing it themselves, they can use a platform like StreamYard, and they just get that by signing up on StreamYard.com. Of course, there's a little bit of a learning curve. You know what I think? I think we should do an episode where you actually teach people step by step how to do this, or we should put a webinar together for that, because I think people really want to learn how to do it themselves, even if they end up outsourcing it. But maybe just to get their feet wet or understand it better. So once you've done that, once you've done you've signed up on StreamYard.com, what do you recommend the next step is for people to do that are running a show? What's the next thing they should think about as they do this themselves? That's what we're focused on right now.
So as you're learning the platform, I would always practice. If you are running the show by yourself, if you're the lone showrunner, so to speak, of your own episode or live stream, practice the episode. Practice your open with graphics if that's what you want to do. Practice with an intro video, because you can upload intro videos into this platform. And there's other platforms out there. I just found that StreamYard works for us really well. I know like Molly uses Be Live, which is very similar.
You're referring to Molly Mahoney, right? She does Be Live.
She used Be Live. Very similar platform. I just found, and I've tried them both, and I just prefer the way StreamYard works and the way the graphics come up, and it's very intuitive once you learn all the different tools that you have in here. It's very nice. I mean, there are things that'll make it easier if you're a sole runner, right? Especially in a platform like StreamYard. There's Elgato has a little control system called the Stream Deck, and it can come as small as 4 buttons up to 32 buttons that are layered, so you can have multiple uses to it. And those are meant to provide shortcuts rather than navigating with your mouse and pushing these buttons. Some of these features can be pre-programmed into a button that's sitting here next to your keyboard, and so when you're ready to go to this format or back to this format, it's just a push of a button that's right there, so you don't even have to look at it because your finger's on the button already.
Yeah, so that's really cool, like having a tool like that, the Elgato, to control that. Again, there's so much technical stuff, and some people are more technical than others and total quick starts. I personally, if I don't want to do something, I just outsource it. That's just because I want to be really doing the work that I love to do. So, really is also dependent on your personality, right? What you want to do, what you want to take on. So once you've done that, you've signed up on live stream and just kind of record, right? You just play with it. Like I would say, try a mock one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just do a quick 5-minute episode and just have a clear open, and if you have a follow-up video or a stinger or something like that, which is just a small little short little video clip. A sizzle reel or something like that. And then after that plays, then go into your intro. The cool thing about it is when we do the main intro for the Waist Up Wardrobe, I start the video. As soon as it's done, it goes live right back to Christine. So I don't even have to push anything because it knows that the next camera view is going to be Christine. And so I leave her live when I hit the main video, and the main video supersedes the live feed. And then once the live video once the intro reel is done, then it goes right back to Christine. And so it's very intuitive when it comes to video clips that you have set up for the show.
Yeah, and you can set that up before you start the show. Yeah, that's really cool. And so that's the stuff that I don't know because I've delegated that to you. So let's talk a little bit about the show running aspect, like somebody doing it for you. Okay, so we've covered sort of the do-it-yourself, although I do feel like we've established, the planning, the organizing. StreamYard is a great platform to use. There are others, but that's a great platform to use as a user-friendly platform. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not that bad. And people can get guidance. So let's say, would you be willing with, if people put in hashtag showrunner, and shine. Would you be willing to talk to somebody if they wanted to do it themselves and give them some tips, Rick?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
That'd be no problem.
Okay, so hashtag showrunner and shine. If you put that in the comment box, then Rick would be happy to jump on a quick call with you and really give you the tips and answer any questions, or maybe where you're stuck doing this for your show. But I want to really quickly, I want to talk about the benefits and the value of having somebody do it for you, and actually just talk about, Rick, what you do for me in this show. You've got me totally organized. We have a system where we collaborate before a show, what the show's going to be. We have an intro that I come on live. So all the switching back and forth, you handle that, right? And you've got a system down.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your role as the producer of the show. Just a quick, synopsis of that.
Yeah. So in the background, we do, like Christine said, and I mentioned before, we do a lot of organizational stuff in the background that viewers never see, right? And the result of that, obviously, the viewers see a very well-run, very organized show. And so what I do for Christine, now we've been doing this since middle of 2020.
We're going on we've been doing this for a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is episode 88.
Yep.
And so we've learned a few things in the process, but the main core of organization and the things that I do for Christine are basically the same. And so I, as the showrunner, I keep her honest as far as getting the right assets for the show. So if there's slides that need to be shown, or if we need to bring in a guest, or if I have to step in, we keep those things organized, and I'm constantly, asking Christine, what's next week's episode, even before this week's episode is even airing, right? Yeah. So I can be prepared for her, so she can walk into the studio, so to speak, and deliver the content and share the content that she needs to. So I do all that stuff. I do the prep, graphic preps that needs to be done, the thumbnails that that are going to lead into the live stream episode. I do as a showrunner, I want to make sure that the production is good as it can be, especially when we bring on a guest. And so we will do a pre-show check with the guest, not only just to kind of overview the episode, but also to preview the tech. And the tech meaning, is the lighting good? Is the guest sound good? Is the camera position correct? And so all those little things that you may not think about when you bring on a guest, they're very important, because we want to match the look and the feel of Christine, the host, or you as the host, if you go down that road. And so I look at all those little production details before we even bring them on screen, so we get the best value and the least amount of distractions when a guest comes onto the show. So little things like that in the background, and that's just pre-production, and that leads up to the show.
Right. Okay. And the pre-production part is where you keep me pretty honest and on task, right? It's like, okay, Christine, we need the thumb, because I have to use the thumb to create the post and get you to pre-promote this. And then we got to prep the guest. And that's something where you really help me with, because the guest not only needs to be prepared from a content standpoint, where I create a script for them and all that of questions, but they also need to be prepped in their space. Like, are they showing up with the lighting properly, the technology? They need to be prepped what to do if their Wi-Fi drops off, which people don't expect to happen, but it happens. And we don't want to be those people going, oh, wait, I don't think they can hear us anymore. Oh, can you hear me? And then keep doing that, because it interrupts a really good production and show. So there's that whole the pre-production preparation.
Yeah, and that's where you see the benefit of a showrunner, or somebody who's monitoring the show in the background. Even if you have a producer or showrunner that never comes on screen, you have that person who's monitoring things in the background. Now, I see everything that's going to be pushed out onto these platforms, right? Facebook and to YouTube. And as a backup, I also watch the live feed on my on my phone or on my iPad. And
Yeah,
so
I can't
I
do
can
that.
see exactly what's going on. Now, the tricky thing of doing that, if you're doing this by yourself, is that there's typically a 7 to 10, maybe even 15-second delay. So it's really weird if you're if you're trying to listen to a live stream and it's not jiving with what's going out live, because there is that little bit of a delay. But
Yeah.
I just do that as a double check to make sure that what the audience is seeing out on those platforms is what we're pushing out during the show. And so different things like that. So that leads up all the way up to the day of the show as we're pushing out. And really, when I'm in the studio room behind the scenes running the show while Christine's delivering content, whether it's a solo episode or whether it's a guest episode, I'm monitoring all these things to make sure that everything is going smooth. I'm bringing up graphics as needed. In this case, when we brought up the hashtag, I just did that on the fly because it was last week's episode.
I want to speak to that really quickly, because I think that's something that would be the hardest thing to do as the host and showrunner of your own show, because there's times where like I'm really focused on the content and I don't want to think about certain, clicking buttons to bring up a picture, or the idea of putting the hashtag in, or bringing up comments. Those are the things that happen during the show that you manage that really are very much of service to me, because I don't want to miss anybody's comment. I want to, obviously respond to questions, and I want to give people this information and give them the visuals. But I feel like that is really so important. Like your role there is so critical to the show itself.
Yeah. So when Christine sees a comment come up on her dashboard as the guest, I will immediately I see it come into a folder. So I get I forget, I think it's a red dot or something like that. So it alerts me, hey, there's a comment there. Christine picks that up and starts talking about it, and I'll just push a button because it shows up on my feed. And this is just an example. It's dead right now because there's no comments, but it would come up like that. Right. This is just the default for StreamYard, but the comment will come up like that. I bring it on, she speaks to it, and then I pull it off. And as people comment during the show, it's great because they feel involved. They feel like they're engaging with the show, with the host, and they're delivering, some value to the content, or
actively participating.
Yes, actively participating in the show. And so now you as a if you're a solo showrunner, you could do that. But the problem that I see a lot of times is the flow of the show, the flow of you speaking to the audience breaks, because now you're looking for that. Hold on a second. Let me see. Where's that button? You pause, and then it starts to get. And then it starts to look a little amateurish, because you're hunting and pecking for that control, and you're not familiar with you're not familiar with the platform, or you're trying to do too much by yourself.
Yeah. So you got the pre-production that we discussed of the planning and keeping me on task, and you have the during the show tasks that you do that we talked about. So let's talk a little bit about the post-production, because that's a big piece of having a producer. Every part here is important. I feel like if there's any part that I could do my own, would be maybe the pre-production, although, that is, it does help to have you reminding me. But if I had to really focus and do that myself, I would probably be able to manage that. But the during production is I don't want to be distracted. I want to deliver the content. And there's the post-productions I really don't want to deal with. So tell us a bit about the post-production part.
So the post-production portion of it begins almost immediately after the show. Well, actually, in this case, now that we've changed the pace, changed the way we've been doing it, it actually starts right after the end of the live show. So if you're watching this video, or if you're watching this episode, stay on till after the show is done, because then you start seeing the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Okay, so this is the genius that you came up with. I have to say, this added piece of post-production, where we are keeping the link live, because we're just letting you see the behind the scenes and what we talk about afterwards, right? And then also you actually go into the blooper reel, which is a new piece that we added. So go on.
Exactly. So I thought, okay, we started doing this, I think since gosh, I think episode 35 or something like that, we started doing Speedy recaps.
Yeah.
And, we found that to be of value. That's something we learned from one of Christine's coaches, that to do a very quick recap of the show to be used on a platform to draw back people into that episode is a very valuable piece. And we thought, okay, what better time is to do that than right after the show, because it's fresh. You kind of remember, all the hot points and the tips and tricks and tools and all that that you want to promote. So Christine does the Speedy recap review right after the show. We do a very short debrief, whether it's after the show video or after the blooper reel. If we have a guest on, we do a quick debrief with them, and then Christine goes into the Speedy recap. And basically it's a very short intro, a little plug. We get into the recap, and she goes over the top items of the show to use at a later time to draw people back to this episode. And then and where do you post those, Christine? Where do you post those Speedy recaps?
Yeah, so the Speedy recaps actually can be posted really anywhere, but I generally post them on Instagram as sort of a teaser to the actual show and to just kind of get people to go to the show and watch it. But mainly I do it on Instagram, but I mean, you could do it anywhere, right? You could do it on Facebook and any of your platforms. I can even see it being done on LinkedIn if it was a professional show that you want professionals to kind of go watch, which we have not done because I know there's a lot of little rules and regulations to posting that stuff on LinkedIn when it comes to just video on LinkedIn. But I definitely use on Instagram, and it definitely gets people going, oh, is that what they talked about? Well, I want to go learn more, Right.
And so we tape that, and then you get to see that, we're not always perfect. Like people think that the show is perfect. Right. And so you get to see the challenges that we have when Christine does the Speedy recap, some of the potential bloopers that might come out in previous or subsequent episodes. But it gives you, as a viewer who's either just watching or maybe wanting to do a podcast, a realistic look at, you don't have to be perfect to do a production like this. In fact, I would prefer you, and I coach people all the time, don't plan on being perfect, because it's not going to be. The day that you think that you want a perfect show is the day where you probably will never start the live stream, because it'll never be perfect.
Exactly.
And so anyway, to go back, so we use the Speedy recap in different areas to bring back viewers to the episode. After we do the Speedy recap taping, I'll go into my editing software and I'll create that, sometimes as short as a minute, usually right around 90 seconds to do the Speedy recap. I'll recreate I'll edit that Speedy recap into a short video, and then I publish it. I load that up to Christine on either Google Drive or on Dropbox, and then she can pull those down and put those into Instagram or whatever platform that you desire. And so
what I love about that, I just want to add something there, Rick, is that what I love about that, having the Speedy recaps, is that I can actually go to a show that was like recorded like 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks or 10 weeks ago, if I feel like it's relevant, and then push that out so people kind of push people back, kind of remind them and bring back the memory of that particular show, right? So that's, I have access to this library that I can really use to promote anytime, because they're short and they're quick.
Yeah, they're short and they're quick. And so while the Speedy recap is being pushed out, I have already downloaded the episode that I convert into an MP3 for iTunes. Right. And so I do some very soft editing, not much at all. I shorten the 2-minute intro into like a 10 second, the 10-second intro, and I prepare that for iTunes, and I upload that into our into Podbean, I believe it is, and which presses out to iTunes. And so those little things that maybe you don't think about as far as the production flow, that's what happens. Then at least for this episode, it doesn't stop there, right? Yeah. So we have software that actually automatically uploads the episode, the live stream episode, the comments, which is great because it shows social proof to the episode, but it automatically creates a blog post and loads it up to Christine's Waist Up Wardrobe page.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Right. And so that's one less thing that I have to do. And it's done automatically. So really the work was in the setup. And once it's set up, then you just kind of let that be. And it automatically loads that up to the Waist Up Wardrobe website page. And then you can see all the episodes that we've done in the past. So while that's going on, then the next step for me is I take the audio podcast portion and again, use another software to get the transcription of the episode. And then I'll post that to Trello for Christine for future use and future reference. And let's see, what after that?
Is that the end of the road?
I think that's the end of the road, right? Yeah. I think that's the end of...
and then you just start talking to me about the pre-planning for the next episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. That's a day in the life of a Waist Up Wardrobe episode. But from a producer standpoint, honestly, I think having a producer, especially if you're a very busy person in your business, it cuts out so much time. It saves so much time. And I love having you. I've also kind of developed you into sort of the co-host of the show, because I have this opportunity to bring you on and ask the male perspective on a lot of our topics, but also you have such good insight on marketing and branding that entrepreneurs really, really need. So there's like all this goodness built into having this, awesome producer. So thank you for all that you do for the show, Rick. I really appreciate it. So we're going to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to add as we wrap up as to the difference between the do-it-yourself running your show, or hiring or engaging a showrunner?
I would encourage people to look at the big picture. Whether you're starting a podcast or you've been doing it for a while. If you're starting a podcast for the first time, where is it that you want to be, and where is it that you want your show to look like, let's say in 3 or 6 months? Okay.
Yeah.
For the person that has been doing it for a while, what's the next thing that will, level up your show? What do you need to do to make it look like a really professional production? Yeah. For the beginner, I would say just get started. Start with your phone. Yeah. Get used to the talking to nobody, basically, because get used to talking to your phone, basically, is how you're going to get started. Start feeling comfortable with that, and then you can move into doing it on your laptop or your desktop or whatever platform it is. And then once you kind of get the idea of how that's going to feel like, then take a look at software. Go beyond Zoom and look at a platform like BeLive or like StreamYard and see how that'll help. The cool thing, and I didn't mention this, because there's a much higher level, there's the next level to production of compared to what we're doing. I wanted to start with a platform that's easy for everyone to learn, easy for everyone to get into, right? Yeah. And StreamYard or BeLive, a cloud-based production software, is very, very easy to learn. There's no stress on your computer as far as, I don't know if my, people think, I don't know if my computer can handle all that stuff that you're doing. Well, the good news is, because this is run through the cloud, there's no stress on your computer, other than the only requirement is that you have a good internet connection or Ethernet connection. And so there's a lot of things that a software like StreamYard does versus the next level up, like Ecamm or vMix, more higher end production software that actually has to sit on your computer to run. And now there's a whole different myriad of different technical things you have to consider when you have something residing on your computer, taking all the resources from your computer. And so that's why I love starting off with StreamYard, getting people started with StreamYard, because it takes the stress off your computer. Everything's live.
And it takes the stress off of you.
Yeah, it takes the stress off of me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. and then everything's accessible, because since now it's recorded to Facebook or to YouTube. There's your cloud resource, right? StreamYard for us, I download directly from StreamYard because it saves the it saves the previous episode that we just did, and then I take that resource, and that's what I use to edit for all the other stuff that we mentioned before. So if you're starting, just get started and work your way up. What's the next thing that will bring more production value, make you look more professional, upscale your look and feel. And if you don't know what that is, then type in the hashtag, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah. So with hashtag Showrunner and Shine, Rick will jump on a call and really walk you through all the details of what you need to get it going, whether you're, going to do it yourself or you want to, invest in having somebody run it for you. But the main takeaway here, let's do a Waist Up Wardrobe weekly wrap up. Remember, the hashtag Showrunner and Shine will get you on a call with Rick. So put that in the comments as you watch the show, and he will be happy to connect with you on and message you on Facebook, and then you can connect with him. But the Waist Up Wardrobe weekly wrap up right here is that the main takeaway is get started. I mean, that is really the overarching theme. We want you to do it. If you have a desire to have a show, you don't want to be stopped by something technical. So get started. The one tip I would say is, explore the StreamYard.com, because it's such a user-friendly platform, and do a show just for the fun of it, right? Just kind of give it a shot and try it. I think that's a really great tip, and use that tool of StreamYard.com. And there is BeLive, there's other tools. Of course, I speak to StreamYard because that's kind of been our experience, but I'm sure there are a lot of great tools out there. StreamYard just happens to be pretty user-friendly, so we really like to use that and tell people about it. And finally, action item. Okay, remember what Rick said is part of the most important part of creating a show. It's the planning. So as an action item, if you have a desire to create your own show, if you are in the middle of creating it, just jot down 6 to 8 weeks of topics. Like if you're going to be streaming once a week, just start putting those on paper so that you can at least get the pre-planning part down. And that way, whether you decide to do it yourself or decide to hire somebody else to do it for you, you've at least got the pre-planning in place. So there you have it, the Waist Up Wardrobe weekly wrap up. And you can join us again next week at 11:30 on Thursday on Facebook at Waist Up Wardrobe. We'll bring you a new, fresh show of how to dominate from behind the desk and really maximize your video presence.